What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this I want to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down some big news that just came out for the EV market, which involves NIO's deliveries, what's happening with the earnings coming out very soon, as NIO has earnings in just a couple of days, what the economic data is telling us, and what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I begin the devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you put in $1,000 or more, you're guaranteed 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, when it comes to NIO is currently actually down just a tiny bit in the after hours, but the question is, how is this thing going to move going forward? Now, NIO is a stock that it is on an uptrend right now. It's been making higher highs and higher lows, but I am a little bit concerned about something because we did get some negative news that came out for the entire Chinese EV market. So I'm going to talk about that in just a couple of minutes before I break down these charts. Now, let me first say that for economic data for the whole market, we don't really have anything coming out for tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be Monday, March 4th. So it's basically the first Monday of March. You know, time is flying. We're already at March for 2024. It happened so fast. And I just want to say we have Harker from the Fed giving a speech at 11 o'clock a.m. And then after that, we have the 3 month and 6 month bill auctions coming out at 11:30 a.m. And that's pretty much it. Excuse me. That's it for the time being thus far. Now, when it comes to some earnings coming out, so since the data is not so big, what about for earnings? We just have C and just a few others coming up before the market opens on Monday. After the market closes, we have GitLab and just a few others. But then we have on Tuesday, before the market opens, we have NIO, Target, and just a couple of others, not to mention Ross, ChargePoint, and many others for the end of the day on Tuesday. But NIO has its earnings on Tuesday. I'm going to be making a video about this tomorrow where I break down what we should be expecting for heading into earnings. And we're going to be watching for some very, very big moves by NIO. It's going to be a big highlight for the week, and we'll see what happens for now. But unfortunately, at least for NIO, their deliveries were not the best. At least for February, they're down 19%. But hold your horses, it's not NIO's fault. If you look at the overall media, it's very easy for them to just attack NIO, say NIO's deliveries are down and this and that. Yes, but it's not just NIO. BYD, their deliveries are down big. You know, Li Auto, their deliveries are down big. Xpeng, their deliveries are down big for the month of February because of Lunar New Year, because of the Chinese New Year holiday. And there could be other factors that played a role, but for now, it seems like the Chinese New Year holiday played one of the biggest roles in causing this. So let's talk about these numbers. So I'm going to show you guys the evidence of this. So NIO delivered only 8,100 EVs in February, according to data. That is down 19.1% from 10,000 deliveries in January, 33% less than 12,000 deliveries from February 2023. It's not the best of news for NIO. That's a big drop in their deliveries, and this happened amidst the Chinese holiday. But don't forget, it's not just NIO. If you look at a couple of others out there, right, we could actually see that Li Auto overnight, it's down about 5%. Their deliveries were actually up from a year ago, but they're down 35% relative to January. So the February deliveries were 20,000, down 35%. That's even worse than NIO's for the month of January. All right. How about BYD? BYD, great company, insanely strong earnings, but check this out. When it comes to their EVs, new energy vehicles, in February, they're down 36% relative to a year ago. And they're down 60.7%. That's right, 60% compared to what we saw in January. So a big drop in EV sales for BYD, right? That's even higher than NIO's, right? Same thing happened for another company, Xpeng. Check out Xpeng. They delivered 4,500 EVs in February, down 24%. That's worse than NIO's. And also, they're also down about 44.9% relative to what we saw in January. So there's a very, very big drop in their EV sales. And that's actually a very, very big deal. So I'm just trying to tell you, okay? Li Auto, big drop in deliveries. BYD, big drop in deliveries. Xpeng, big drop in deliveries. It's happening all over China. And out of everyone, NIO seems to have the least drop in terms of percentage relative to what we saw in the previous month. Only 19% compared to others seeing 35%, 40%, 60%. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to say NIO is better in any way, shape, or form. I just want to show you that solely attacking NIO in a situation like this, saying it's NIO is bad, this and that, Well, you have to understand it doesn't make sense to do that because it's the entire EV sector. It's the Chinese sales dropping, and we have to be very, very honest and straightforward when data like this comes out. So you have to be very careful in seeing data like that. So now we had about 40 million in volume for NIO overall. The volume is going down just a little bit, but not too bad. We also saw the short volume drop temporarily, but when we watch to see if we get a bounce here, will the shorting go up just a little bit more? Not seeing anything new from analysts. Let me just double check this. Price ratio is down a little bit. NEO is underperforming just a bit. And then finally, Mondays tend to be green only about 49% of the time. And it's going to be a very special Monday. It's going to be the last trading day before NEO's earnings. So, what do I think is going to happen? Honestly, guys, I want to be very careful with the EVs. So, I think that SPY is going to see a little bit of downside. Just to be honest with everyone, I think that because if you look back at the trend on SPY, okay, this thing, every single time we hit a Friday and we have a big rally, we either peak on Friday or Monday, then we see a little sell off for 1 to 2 days. And I think that that trend is going to continue. If you don't believe me, just check the chart. But I'm making the claim. And I think that SPY is going to retrace to 510. I see 510 coming, if not 508. I think we're going to get a little retracement, and we're going to be seeing if it could bounce off those levels. But I do see it coming down just a bit. I think that this might lead to some downward pressure for Tesla and same thing for NIO. But then simultaneously, the Chinese EV sales were not the best. So I'd be very careful with NIO. Now, it is still possible. It's still possible that NIO runs really hard, gets a big bounce after earnings come out on Tuesday. So don't turn into a mega bear, but just be careful considering that the market might pull back just a little bit. For Tesla's range bound. Okay, we have 198 as support, and we have 205 as resistance. It's been going back and forth and back and forth. But every time we hit 205, notice how we get a sharp little sell off here, sell off here, sell off here. So it might sell off a little bit more, might pop a little bit to 204. But with the Chinese EV sales coming down, it might actually drop closer to 200, if not 198 all over again. So there's going to be a risk of Tesla coming down if we get a rejection here. So watch our 30 minutes 200 EMA support at 198 to 199. If we do lose this, a bigger drop is coming. Otherwise, Tesla's still range bound. But even if Tesla is in the range between 198 and 205, I still think it could retrace towards like 200, even 198 all over again, then try to see what happens after that. So I do see it coming down just a little bit. Apple's looking very weak. It's barely at 179. If we fail to get a break back above 180 and we fail to hold 180, it's going to continue to sink towards 178, if not 176.5. So I'm seeing some weakness on the Apple chart, so be very careful. For the QQQ, I would say that this has been pumping very nicely, but it is due to pull back just a little bit. We either get one more spike up to 448, then come back down, or we just start dropping from here. It's got to be one of those two. I anticipate it's going to come all the way back down towards possibly this breakout, maybe a little bit higher than 440. It could come down to like 442 again. So watch for that on the triple Q. For Nvidia is continuing to soar. It's still making these higher highs and higher lows. There's a little bearish divergence. It's kind of like overbought, but it doesn't guarantee anything. It's still bullish. We have to watch to see if we get a rejection or not. A little retracement back down to like 807. Not saying it's crashing. It's a little retracement before it tries to bounce again is a possibility. So just watch and see how it reacts to this 830 area. 832 to 840 is how high it could go before coming back down. So maybe it pops a little bit as it's still looking bullish, but then watch for this little retracement. It might be coming as well. That is it for the main five I typically go over. Now let's just talk about the one and only NIO. So what is going to happen to NIO in my opinion? Honestly, guys, it's been on an uptrend. So technically speaking, it's looking kind of bullish. But I am concerned now because the last time we got close to $6, we got a little rejection. We just hit $6 or came very close to it. And it might come down a little bit now. I'm a little bit worried that if we lose 5.7, we turn a little bearish. We could see it come back down to 5.63, if not 5.5. To be bullish, you want to see it break above 5.93 and hit 6, then 6.2. But honestly, guys, I think that it might kind of pop when we open and come back down with the declining EV Chinese sales, at least in China. This is not good news, and there is a risk of NIO coming down to 5.72, then 5.6. However, despite NIO possibly dropping before its earnings, don't be too scared because you have to remember that NIO has the potential to bounce. It still could bounce after its earnings come out. Hold on, I'm looking for this right here. Sorry about that, guys. This right here, it could still bounce after earnings, so don't be way too bearish just yet. We'll have to wait and see what they project and what their guidance looks like. All right, so going into earnings, I want to warn everyone there's a risk of NIO coming down back down to 5.72, then eventually 5.63, and then 5.5. Those are three little minor supports. I say this because of the fact that despite it being on a little uptrend so far, the Chinese EV deliveries are not the best. And sometimes this does negatively affect NIO, so we might see a little sell off. And if NIO does sell off a bit, we'll have to see if earnings affect it. So going into earnings, it might sell off a bit. There's a risk of that, but then after earnings come out, we'll see if we get a bounce or not. So we'll just have to wait and see. But that's what I'm predicting for NIO. Thank you all so much for listening. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the Sunday weekend, and I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow in the afternoon. Thank you for listening, and peace out.